The Summer Gamedev Challenge was a game developing competition announced at the beginning of August, with the submission deadline on the 3rd of September. The main point of the competition was that the developers had to use a specific set of free assets created by Kenny. The rule was pretty experimental, and the spirit of it was to allow participants to focus on the gameplay itself. In the end, 8 games were submitted to the Games from Scratch category, and only 1 to the Games created using Game Engine category. In this video I'll showcase the submitted games with a small commentary for each. The winners will be announced in a few days on my blog. Alright, let's get to it. Wolf and Sheep was created by Donchu, and it's a browser adaptation of a classical game known under the same name, or more commonly as Fox and Hounds. The game is typically played on a checkers 8x8 board. The player can choose to play either as the wolf or as the sheep. As the wolf, your objective is to reach the other side of the board by passing the wall of sheep, and as the sheep you have to stop the wolf from crossing over. Either way, the AI of the game seems to know the winning strategy and is pretty relentless, or what's more possible is that I'm not very good at this game. The game also features a hot seat multiplayer mode where the player take consecutive turns, and you have the option to let either player take the first turn. From a technical point of view, the game was created in JavaScript and runs smoothly under Chrome, and I have not tested it under other browsers. Unfortunately, there is no music or sound effects. I'll let you enjoy a few more seconds of the gameplay before we jump into the next game. The next game was created by MacTech and doesn't really have a title. From a technical point of view, it was created using C++ and SFML, or Simple and Fast Multimedia Library, which was a popular choice for most games submitted to our competition. The game itself is a real-time strategy taking place in the 24th century, and the most valuable substance in the universe is uranium. You are a leader of a uranium excavation mission, and unfortunately the mission starts with your spaceship crashing and no way to contact the base. Well, no way apart from actually gathering enough resources, that is metal, stone and uranium, and constructing buildings, and in the end the service station, which, equipped with a huge satellite dish, allows one to regain contact with the mothership. It takes quite a long time to gather the minerals, and in the end it turns out that there is only this one mission, so I never got to test any other buildings or see any aliens apart from their bones scattered here and there on the map. Space Logic Adventure by Luke is a pretty hard game testing the player's memory and swiftness of input. The game looks rather easy at the first glance, just a set of tiles for the player to traverse. It turns out really quickly that the tiles disappear beneath you, so you have to be quick about it, and the steering model using rotate and move forward-backward doesn't really help. Later levels bring new obstacles into play in the form of fences, which first have to be unlocked by stepping on proper tiles, and teleports which teleport you to a different part of the map. All this makes the game pretty hard and pretty enjoyable, even though I've heard the phrase "game over" more times than I care to count. The only thing missing are more levels. From a technical point of view, the game was created using C++ and SFML for Ubuntu, but I compiled it for Windows without a single problem. Hey, and it even has movie-like scrolling credits. Space Ride was created by Michael 2001 and is a vertical scroller shooter featuring a huge aircraft flying on low altitude and clearing its way through obstacles such as rocks and small mountains. Additionally, the player has to be careful not to fly over any craters, as they seem to suck out the fuel from the aircraft. The fuel is being burned at a pretty fast pace anyway, so we have to fly over fueling stations to top up the tank. The fueling stations look pretty similar to aforementioned craters, by the way. The game also has a repair and upgrade system, however I'm not really sure how to use it after the game actually starts, or how to earn in-game money. There doesn't seem to be any level or stage system either. From a technical point of view, this was the sole submission in Python. It's using the popular Pygame engine for basic display and graphics and for sound. Space was created by Seba using the usual pair of C++ and SFML. The game itself is a fast-paced dynamic vertical shooter where the player has to navigate through a huge asteroid field while destroying the rocks themselves and gathering both power-ups and ammunition. The levels progress as the player gets more and more points from destroying the asteroids, and with each level you get more and more rocks flying all around you, turning the game into a variation of a bullet hell shooter. It's worth noting that the smaller the asteroid was, the more points you get for taking it down, a small thing, but I really liked the choice. I had quite a lot of fun playing this game, but I started to wonder if it's actually possible to die if one just sits in a corner, flying left and right and shooting all the time. Probably no, unless you run out of ammo first. I'll let you enjoy a few more seconds of gameplay before we jump into the next game. Space Miners was created by Emis 2000 and is a real-time strategy game where your mission is to basically mine out all the minerals on the map as fast as possible. To do this, you have to pay attention to 3 different types of resources: money, villagers, and energy. Starting from the end, energy is produced by building solar panels, where each panel provides only a few units of energy. The villagers live in a house, so you have to build one for them. And the money comes from mining the minerals, which is an automated process done by flying harvesters, which constantly fly between mineral patches and the mining station. To build a station you have to spend both money and energy as well as use your villager limit. In the end, the game is rather easy, and unless you spend all your credits incorrectly at the beginning of the game, it all comes down to mining out the map as fast as possible. From a technical point of view, the game was created using the usual pair of C++ and SFML, and sadly doesn't have any sound. Desert Aircraft Shooter was created by Martin648 and is an isometric deathmatch where the player is controlling a spaceship on a battle arena made basically of obstacles and a handful of enemy ships. The game pacing is pretty dynamic, and it's not easy to win the match as the ammo is unlimited and the AI basically turns the map into a bullet hell. The AI itself is rather simple, and the best way I found to win is basically to let the AI reduce its health near zero by hitting a wall or rock scattered around the map, and then I would just finish them off. The arena is procedurally generated, and its size varies from 50 by 50 tiles to 100 by 100 tiles, or perhaps more. From a technical point of view, the game was made using the popular C++ and SFML pair. I'll let you enjoy a few more seconds of the gameplay before we jump to the next game. The Fate of ISO Guy was created by Piotr Krupa using C++ and SFML, and is an isometric shooter where the hero led by the player travels through arenas connected by portals and fights whatever enemies are found. The enemies vary from green zombies, which just follow the player around and try to get within melee distance, through blue shooting entities up to large spacecraft bosses, but really small robots whose behavior resembles that of an Arkanoid ball. Throughout the journey you can find various power-ups, usually increasing the damage dealt or the move or shooting speeds. I've also found a black area which is closed until you defeat all the bosses, but since the game isn't easy I didn't manage to enter the area yet. Unfortunately the game doesn't have any sound or music. The Fate of the ISO Guy is the last game in this category, therefore it's time to move to the games created using game engines. Space Shooter was created using Unity by GJM and Mute and is the sole game submitted in this category. The game is somewhat similar to the previous one in the sense that again the player controls a hero who traverses areas connected by portals. In Space Shooter, however, it's more about the actual exploration, as the fights are much simpler, though the aiming isn't. The game has only 5 areas though, which makes it rather short. Space Shooter looks like it could use some more love. For example, I found it impossible to jump in 2 out of 4 possible directions, and the controls themselves are somewhat unintuitive. Additionally, once you enter the last portal, the game just exits to the desktop. It doesn't have any sound or music either. Given that it's the only game in this category, I don't think these issues are going to be a problem anyway. And that's about it. I'll announce the winners on my blog in a few days. Let me know in the comments down below which game did you like best. I'm quite curious if your favorite game matches mine.